I'm here with Phil D'Angelo. He's the Director of Business Development, EMEA, for VeriSign. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I'd like to just touch on a few things that we've been discussing here regarding what are the fundamentals that need to be in place to enable a national PKI?
Well, I think when you think about a program like National PKI, you need to be thinking about 3 or 4 areas of focus, and they start with business cases. Ideally, you're going to enable an e-government portal. You are going to enable identities with smart cards and use certificates as a foundation of trust within them. And then you can use certificates that come off of a PKI inside passports. The entire program consists of some technology and some software that's delivered in country and in government facilities. But it's also about training and giving the customer and ultimately the government some knowledge transfer around PKI. It can be a bit of a daunting task to get familiar and get your hands around PKI, and there are not that many countries that have really successfully seen broad implementation. So VeriSign's just kind of looked at what it's done internally to become a successful player in the market, and now we've offered that program as a platform for people to adopt. We do the knowledge transfer, we do the policy work, and certainly the technology is scalable that we offer as well. So there's a mix of facilities, policies, and technology, I think.
It seems to me that in the US there are a lot of identities.
Yeah.
And is there a move to try and combine these? There seems to be quite a few.
There are thoughts that are being, I think, posed around Washington, D.C. and in the States in different ways. I like to tell my story about having 5 or 6 actual identities that may or may not be of any value to me. In most cases, they're not of any value to me, like my Social Security card, or to a large extent my voting card. I can't really get anything with those identities, and I do tend to carry them with me. I would say based on a matter of habit, really. Then there's your driver's license, your health card, and your passport. There's a little bit of value in your passport, obviously, that you're able to travel and cross borders. The driver's license is something that you normally present when you're in trouble, but if you didn't have it with you and nobody checked you, you wouldn't lose out. And I think that the reality is they become somewhat inconvenient because you tend to carry 4 or 5 of them around at a time, and you don't get anything back in return for managing those identities. And again, they're not really anything you can use in the digital world. They're only applicable for the most part, except for the passport on the physical world. So there should be some effort to consolidate from a cost savings perspective and bringing value to the citizen. But that may be a little bit of a rose-colored view of what will happen. But there's no reason that we can't make that happen from a technology standpoint. Smart cards exist, and smart cards will be easier to use with the digital world in terms of using certificates that could identify you to applications. And I think we should start looking at seriously trying to trim down some of the programs and consolidate the identity into one place.
So it's more for the convenience of the government than the citizen?
I would say the opposite. I am after citizen convenience.
Yes.
I'm after consumer convenience, and what I think is behind that is tremendous benefit for the enterprise or the businesses and the government services that are online, in that they'll have a trusted credential to leverage in multiple different ways. You know, their decision in terms of how they go after that opportunity, whether they use it for strictly authentication once, twice, or on a regular basis when they're getting people into their services, or if they're allowing people to do digital signatures and actually conduct transactions with the certificates that are on the cards. But those opportunities exist. The technology's there. There's no reason we can't do it.
Do you think that PKI as the basis of trust is easy enough to engage with a mass market?
I do. I think we learned a lot about what's easy about PKI and what needs to be worked on to make improvements around usability at VeriSign. Been doing this about 15 years, and scale isn't necessarily a very big problem at VeriSign. So we do about 1 billion validations a day of certificates at VeriSign. So no, we're not worried about scale. We're primarily worried about getting the usability factor up and making it easy for you and I to pull a card out of our wallet and either put it into our computer or our keyboard or whatever device we use in our consumer life and use that as a means to represent ourselves online. So the convenience is the key for us.
I believe your Greek agent.
Yeah,
they've done some quite good things.
Well, we have a partner in Greece by the name of Adicom, and they run VeriSign PKI in country, and they chain back to our public hierarchy. And yes, they've done things I think differently than in other cases that we've seen out there in the European market. They partnered with government to drive a business case around transformation to the online world, right? So the e-government applications now serve applications from citizens and businesses and transactions that used to take weeks now take minutes, and they're based on PKI authentication or signing, etc. And I think one of the key threads that we've seen out of that opportunity is making certain credential types optional. So it's up to you, Mr. Consumer, or up to you, Mr. Business, how you want to do this. But the benefits are the following if you do it in the optimized fashion.
I mean, they, from what I can gather, they've got hundreds of applications.
They do. They have hundreds of applications, multiple types of authentication, and options for the consumer or the business.
And talking about physical and electronic identities, do you think these are coming together at all?
They seem to be. My time in the U.S. government and working at VeriSign in the government sort of wrapped up 2 years ago, and they were really starting to see the second wave of their FIPS 2.1 credentials go out, and that drive towards convergence was starting to really take shape.